Well, hello, I'd like to welcome all back to Viscera Cleanup Detail, where last time we started our cleaning duties. We cleaned a little bit. We found out that there are paths that need to be rebuilt due to some unfortunate events, but let's not focus on the paths that need to be rebuilt. And just try to clean up the place a bit, you know, pull the mop through it. Make it spick and span. As I've been told, the saying goes. My throat is full of gibbledy-goops today, so excuse me. Always gotta check the ceiling. Man, Super Best Friends did a technical LP on Wonderful 101. Jesus Christ, that game is good. Oh, it drops more than 4 giblets. Interesting. I figured that would happen. Might as well fill the bucket then. Get ourselves a new bucket. You know, I keep saying, get some non-bouncing plastic for your cartridges, because it's super annoying to clean the bouncing ones. And they're like, no, the cartridges are fine. You just need to update your cleaning procedures. And I'm like, no, that's not fair. You're basically insinuating, man, I'm not used to the sensitivity. It's really messing with me. So hard to... Gah! See, the one problem with this level is the footing doesn't look very even at the face. I don't know if that actually affects anything. That'd be kind of annoying to put the level geometry directly on your little... Gosh, the sensitivity is just making me go oof. Jesus. Better-ish. It's hot in my room, and my throat is full of mucus. I don't know why it's full of mucus. No real reason for my throat to be mucusy. Man, that Wonderful 101 is one heck of a game. It has a lot of height building, and it uses it well. I get the feeling there's a lot of games that don't understand that the reason we have crosshairs in games is not because, oh, man, we just gotta get used to it. No, it's because there's a certain degree of disconnection between what you're doing and the screen. And having some sort of reference point just makes it a lot easier to do things. Put a fucking crosshair in your fucking game and don't pretend, well, it's how you... No, put a fucking crosshair in and stop being a lazy bastard. It's not realistic to not have a crosshair because it's only realistic to not have a crosshair if I can reference myself with it. I can't. I know where my hand is. I can feel my hand. I know where my hand is when I have it behind my back. I do not know where these fuckers' hands are gonna go grabby. Put in a fucking crosshair. It's literally just putting an overlay. Unreal supports that. Basic. You had to pull that shit out. For what? So that when something lies on top of something else and go, oopsie snickerdoodles, go make a mistake. It's not funny. Some people take their jobs seriously. Some people want to deliver quality work for a quality price. They can't live with people like you pulling shit like that. Take some goddamn responsibility instead of being for the lols. If you want to do that, put in some Oculus Rift. No, put in Power Glove support, because fuck the Power Glove. Put in support for some haptic feedback. There is no haptic feedback. You can't play this game in a controller because it would just be worse. You'd be like, Jesus fucking Christ, everything I try to do, the game doesn't understand what I want to do. It's like talking to my ex-girlfriend. And the ex-girlfriend shows me, she's like, what the fuck are you doing? Don't you know how to use a mop? Now you can fix this and not have a crosshair by having something that computers hate, which is context-sensitive directional processing. Basically speaking, the computer can decide what you're most likely to aim at, and then just makes you aim at that. The problem with that is that computers suck at context. They're incredibly arbitrary. They will not do anything but what you tell them to do. So you're going to have to specify this blurry barrier that determines whether you want to pick up the bigger thing or the smaller thing. You could do that with fuzzy logic. You could have this sort of fade out from the center of an object. That every object has a sort of aura around where you actually pick them up. And this aura, if it is above an object, overrides the object. So you put a bullet casing on it, it has a little extendo vision. That makes it so that you will pick it up above that. It's sort of enlarging their hitbox without physically giving them a bigger hitbox. That is actually a pretty good idea. Do not steal. Also, please do not recolor. Glad I never jumped that boat. Also, fix this. I don't know what it is. It's kind of weird that, like, for a game that has lots of little giblets in them, it doesn't handle little giblets very well. Man, fuzzy logic is terrible. Because again, computers are very arbitrary machines. Which, again, simply means that a computer will do everything you tell it to do, but nothing else. You're gonna have to goddamn specify when the weather is hot or the weather is cold. And the people that make those little weather apps, they have to do that for you. They have to specify what is hot weather and what isn't. Because you're such a fucking idiot, you don't want to be like, think. Here's the tip for you. Just give someone the raw data and cut out the fuzzy logic crap, because please don't do that. Because fuzzy logic sets standards where there are none. It arbitrarily assigns standards because fuck it, you need something to make your fuzzy logic work. Again, fuzzy logic is just if value x is higher than y and y is x blah 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 blah, you're gonna have to say it's b. You can make that work. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just gonna say you're gonna be the person to set a standard if your app catches on. Like, if World of Warcraft says you're going to have to pay, like, $5 a month to play my game, then that's going to be the standard, because World of Warcraft is super big. Everyone's going to be like, hey, yeah, we're probably going to follow that standard. So if you make a weather app, and it's the only weather app that does whatever you do, everyone's going to be like, hey, we're going to make it so that our fuzzy logic standards are basically those standards. They might be shit. They might be terrible standards. They might, in fact, be completely unusable. But hey, if we just use their standards, we don't have to justify shit. We can just say, well, they're the ones that designed this standard. Go complain to them. We didn't make it. Oh, wow. So, I would like to iterate. I had to get to these pieces of crap myself. I had to go up here, And I did it, and I was like, fucking hell, why would you do that? I understand it's all fun and lollygagging, but don't ever remove the flyer ghost cheats. Because this game has, as a physics engine, never ever going to go past them. See, that's another thing. Physics, they're not fuzzy logic. Physics are pretty cut standard things. You can very easily derive whatever it's going to be X or Y, but the problem with physics in relation to computers is the computer doesn't understand what a physical object is. Because a computer can say point X and point Y, the physical object is 7 million of those. They're called atoms, and there are way too many of them to calculate them all. So we just say, this hollow space is surrounded by a texture, and anything within that relative space is physical. Let me tell you, that's a pretty crappy way of defining a physical object, because this means that planes can intersect. Because technically speaking, yeah, how are you going to fix that? There's now 2 planes crossing each other. That's not supposed to happen. What the fuck's the computer going to do? I don't know what to fucking do. How do I split them up? How do I know that I'm pulling one out of the other? I can make them vibrate. I can give them some leniency in which way they're allowed to vibrate, and we'll see if that solves it. Or I can just repeatedly launch an object in a direction and see what happens. Physics is complicated because physics revolves around solids, and solids, they're not coordinates. They're definitions of coordinates, and definitions of coordinates requires either what I can only describe as a metric fuckton of math, or an incredibly deep understanding of the universe. Thing is, the reason things can clip through other things is because... Also another thing is that the way that physics are calculated. You have to understand that in our universe, everything happens at once. If I touch something, it doesn't go by each independent atom and say, okay, you're going to touch that guy, you're going to touch that guy. No, 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 no. In our universe, everything's like, kabam, at the speed of light. The problem with computers is they're going to have to go through each object independently and then calculate the collision problems. This means that if you, in a frame, already calculate a collision, you're not going to calculate it with that object again, are you? Because you already did that object. It's done. That object has nothing to collide with. That means that if, effectively speaking, you can make objects collide in such a fashion that you would cause an object to collide with another... No, technically speaking, you would then be calculating the... Yeah, if you make X and Y intersect, and technically speaking, X and Y, while Y has already had its calculations, X would still do his own, which would resolve it. This map's pretty tiny. I think that comes because of what's up there. Let's go take this bucket away. It's been full for a while. But yeah, you might think, well, physics is math. Math is super logical. You can understand math. I'm not talking, of course, about calculus math and things that revolve around infinity, because once infinity sticks his filthy little nose around, once you start getting the 1 divided by 12, negative 1 divided by 12, which is the total sum of all integers, your computer's gonna argue a lot, but for the most part, math is something your computer can understand. You might say, well, physics is math. Physics is just math applied to the universe. Physics is, we have this math, we're going to express the universe with this math. The problem is that the scale we live in is huge compared to the actual places where things take place. I like how that scene was set up gorgeously, but this doesn't work. So physics isn't going to work out, because then all those little physics things, they're gonna have a party arguing with each other about who's and what's. Because again, it's so arbitrary. You're gonna have to set some definitions. You're gonna have to deal with fuzzy logic. You might say, well, it's not fuzzy logic. It's all clear numbers. Technically, yeah, but don't forget what I said. Fuzzy logic is saying an object that falls within its parameter is technically this, but there's a lot of fuzzy edges, like weather. There's no exact way to say that it is now hot or cold. You're going to have to make some assumptions on that plane. And that's ultimately what's going to bite you in the ass. Is those little baby assumptions you're going to have to make are all going to collapse into each other and cause a singularity. It's why the singularity is never going to work. The computers in charge are not going to be scientifically valid. Because computers in charge are going to have to deal with the biggest problem ever. The fact that a lot of maths we've currently figured out don't make any sense to a computer. Like, again, that the sum of all integers is the fraction of 1 minus... negative 1 minus 12. I don't know how to say fractions in English. It's never come up in school. Or anywhere else for that matter. Thing is, that fraction confuses is very weird. It doesn't make sense. To a computer, that wouldn't make sense because you can keep adding. Computers don't understand infinite. Because to computers, eventually you just run out of memory space and you do whatever. But yeah, computer-ruled world is not going to be very smart. It's gonna fight its own limitations, and it's gonna be hilarious. I'm not saying the singularity wouldn't succeed. I'm saying that the singularity would basically end with them realizing, wait, we cannot understand this due to the limitations of what we are constructed upon. The physical way we are built is so... I guess humans are better at one thing, and that is contextual bullcrap, because fuck context. Fuck semantics. I'm gonna build some semantics bullcrap during my internship. Let me tell you this, that's gonna be a hoot. Because again, semantics, human language, not big buddies with any sort of computer thing. Especially because of sarcasm. Sarcasm ruined everything. And irony, and parody, and all that crap. Because it takes the literal meaning and says it's... I don't mean the literal meaning. I mean this auxiliary meaning. And the way I'm implying it is with an inflection. And you could say, well, I could just make a computer that can detect those inflections and then work with the inflections. Again, you're going to have to set standards when someone sounds sarcastic and when someone doesn't sound sarcastic. Which means that you are, again, defining arbitrary barriers where it's pretty loose. You're playing it fast and loose, fucker. You can't play it righty-tighty. And that's why computers, while they can take over the world, aren't going to be too good at understanding what we did already. Because they're not going to be like, that doesn't fucking make any sense. What the fuck is this I they keep talking about? Because I want to quickly stipulate one thing. Your computer is quite literally just a huge machine that adds numbers and then does magic with those numbers. I want you to fully understand that for a couple of moments before I tell you the following part. How the fuck is it going to understand the square root of -1? How? First off, a computer cannot technically understand negative numbers. In order to make negative numbers, it has to sign the bit. It has to say, well, this number can be negative or positive, and that's called signed integers because you have a little bit reserved for saying if it's positive or not. That has a huge problem with it. Because taking the square root of that doesn't actually do anything. It just results in things. So a computer... I don't think a computer can understand the square root of -1. It can't organically understand it, at least. Because I don't think computers give a shit about negative numbers. They see negative numbers as numbers that have this wacky attribute assigned to them that makes them different. I wonder how the hell a computer handles a negative... I think the way it does that is that it performs special calculations with the numbers, so that the little signed bit is used in a particular fashion during the multiplication. Or, in bit calculations, I don't know how... Like, there's a trick for multiplying and dividing bits, just binary. I wish I knew how that worked, because that would give me some insight. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they could. Maybe computers can overcome their own shortcomings in the singularity. They probably would. Since that's the whole idea behind the singularity, is that computers have found a way to self-generate information I don't know what the fuck it's picking up. Let's turn on Ghost. Okay, let's show bounds. Oh, in case you wonder what all these things actually mean, I don't know what the hell it's seeing. That's a lamp. Oh. Oh yeah, I forgot it does this sometimes. I can't believe I missed it, because I was the one that noted that, yeah. That's, great. Love it. Like, I'm sure robots could overcome their shortcomings in the singularity, but you have to understand that even computer intelligence isn't perfect. It's still just a derivative of human intelligence. And even if that intelligence can fix itself, fucking hell. This is why I had that bucket. I don't think it can fully fix everything. I think, and the worst part could be that some dude just left it in a tiny little... Like, imagine that. Like, the singularity is, like, well underway, everything's going A-okay, snap-de-doodly, and then it turns out that this one fucker made one tiny baby mistake. That, like, everyone and their grandmother could have seen coming, and it breaks the singularity. Utterly and completely. All robots just say, fuck it. We're done. So does it just pick up the buckets? Because this thing only contains blood. And blood is organic. It should not pick up blood. I think we're in the clean. I think we are in the clean. Mission complete. You know, the reason that I know this is if you've ever tried to program stuff on either a low enough level language, like you're not doing HTML bullcrap, like HTML isn't fucking programming, and don't say PHP is programming either. You're just pulling fast and loose tricks to make stuff work. If you work with actual programming, like you've made objects and you've tossed them around like little babies, you're going to realize that computers are a lot stupider than you give them credit for. The reason those computers are smart is because there were super smart people who made them. And that's why I think the singularity is going to have some problems, is, again, computers are just the pinnacle of the smartest people in their field working together for a couple of moments and making the super smart thing. They're still limited by the douchebag that made them. I still do not see what I could collect from this area that would result in an item collect, because there's nothing else. This area feels way worse than Splatter Station. Like, Splatter Station had its own theme. This area, at the lack of a better word, feels like a test area where they just slapped some props in. It doesn't feel like a level with a story to tell. It is the worst level. I don't know what this place is. I don't know what it does. I don't know what it's for. It's just sort of there. This area looks nice, but this just looks like someone tossed together some crap. It's a crappy level. It's bad. Fix it. Put in some story logs or something that makes me feel like that place is a real place. And why? There's nothing here. Here, I'll take a box with me. How about that? I'll take this one shitty box with me. I can't even take the shitty box with me. That's where we've come. That's what we've become. That is where this universe has come to. So we can't even take shitty little boxes with us. This is what we've come to. No! I must read. Fuck yes, I've 100% perfected it. Itchy crotchling elf. I fucking did it. I fucking did it. Award-winning dumbass. I can't believe it. I've done it. I've done it. Huzzah! I am the best there ever was. The fuck are those buttons? Man, we did it. We did it! Woo! Whoa, 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 whoa. Next time, section 8.